and welcome to See Here on Saturday with me, Lara Crooks. So, what do we have for you today? Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Clive Mason. Butlins is being taken to court by a group of deaf people who are accusing the company of blatant discrimination after forcing them to leave the company's holiday camp at Pwllheli, North Wales. The legal action is being brought by 25 of 58 deaf people whose New Year break at the Pwllheli camp was cut short after several of them allegedly caused trouble. While the RNID accepts that 2 deaf people caused the disturbance, it says that Butlins was wrong to eject all the deaf guests because of the actions of a minority. Butlins denies it did anything wrong. The company claims that despite the fact that the deaf guests made separate bookings, they clearly constituted one large group who had planned to meet up at the camp. Some of the deaf guests were said to have sexually harassed women and acted aggressively after drinking too much alcohol. Butlins said it decided to eject all the deaf guests because of the extent of the trouble. Newham Council in London is organising a series of deaf tours in the borough for deaf and hard of hearing people as part of Deaf Awareness Week. The 3 tours will provide an opportunity to see the scale of regeneration currently taking place in Newham, such as new projects in the Royal Docks and in Stratford. The format of the tours will include commentary, short talks, and the opportunity to ask questions. Sign language interpreters will be available throughout the tour. Further details are available on our website or contact us at See Here, details at the end of the programme. The Prince's Youth Business Trust is holding a conference in Liverpool on Friday the 9th of October, aimed at giving helpful business advice and support to young people with disabilities. The conference, called Boost Running Your Own Business, will cover such issues as training, grants and funding, as well as tips on achieving business success. The Prince's Youth Business Trust was set up by the Prince of Wales to provide support and finance to young people who want to run their own business. For more details on the Boost conference, see our website or contact us at See Here. That's it for now. Back to Lara at the Lighthouse.
How can a hearing person write a play about a famous deaf woman and really understand the character? And how can a hearing actress play the part convincingly? Well, a play is opened this week which is about a famous deaf woman. It's being staged at the Polka Children's Theatre in South London. We sent a reporter to find out more.
This is really nice. It's a very old theatre. Oh, and look at these photographs. Great gallery. It's obviously ideal for children. Wouldn't it be great to have our own deaf theatre?
You broke my plane! Oh, you stole the drum! Yeah, and if I stole the drum!
Plane!
I'm not stupid, right?
Just now? It's only got one wing.
Chase, chase! Stop! You must stop that now!
The play is about the early life of Evelyn Glennie, who is a well-known percussionist, and I've based the play on her autobiography, which is called Rhythm Song, although the play is called Playing from the Heart.
I've been watching the rehearsals and I was surprised to see that the woman playing the lead role is hearing. Why didn't you cast a deaf actress, since Evelyn herself is deaf?
First of all, I had to find an actress. What's important is that you have the children see good acting. The part requires a degree of musical ability, and to represent Evelyn, I had to decide which was most important. First of all, to present the musician, then the fact that even though she is profoundly deaf, she speaks very, very well. So I then had to find an actress who could speak well if she was deaf. And finally, she's Scottish. This is very, very important to her and to her story.
When I was 8 years old, when I was 8 years old, I climbed to the top of the Green Tower. I tried to pull down clouds. When I was a child, I could hear fields waking up, stretching their muddy arms.
Okay. All right, so can we have the sound of the orchestra? Okay. She said that's fine. Yeah.
When I was a child, I lived on a farm.
Go.
And I stopped playing.
You don't have to go down that surface level.
Okay.
Well, I think the play reflects Evelyn as just a normal kid, just going about her life, first of all, and then for the interest of music to appear, because music basically appeared in my life just as I was losing my hearing. So in a way, both the musician aspect and the deafness are of equal importance. So I think that the play very skillfully portrays just this kind of free young girl, you know, wanting to ride a bike, wanting to play in the snow, wanting to sort of play cat and dog with the brothers and so on, and just be normal. But meanwhile, there's this affliction that's happening, and they are portraying what it was like for me at that stage in losing my hearing, but not necessarily being aware that I was actually going deaf.
The play runs from now until the 14th of October. Oi! Who are you? Oh, I know, you're Elmer, aren't you? What's going on? Oh, you can't sign. What's going on, someone? Ah, this is David Heap from the National Deaf Children's Society. He'll tell us what this is all about.
That's Elmer the Elephant. Last year, the National Deaf Children's Society, in conjunction with the CD, launched a competition inviting deaf children up and down the country to design a winter overcoat for Elmer the Elephant. The prize for the competition was an actual CD-ROM, which is like a British Sign Language sign book for anybody who won the competition.
Oh, a competition. And is the competition over?
The actual competition itself, there was actually 5 winners. The main winner was Laura, whose actual picture was on the front page of Talk magazine last year. She actually designed a coat embracing colours all over the world.
Sounds really interesting. I'd love to see the picture. Is it here? Brilliant. And so where's the winner? Oh, hi. Laura, your picture's beautiful. Where did the idea come from?
I had some suggestions from my family, and my dad suggested some flags for the world.
Great. What kind of materials did you use?
I used pencils and a gold pen for the round, and I used some pencil crayons.
That's brilliant. Oh, you're going to present the prize. Go on then. just ask you, now that there's a signed CD-ROM, why is it so significant?
The actual CD-ROM itself is an innovative idea designed to encourage deaf children to brush up on their reading skills using a combination of English and sign. So it's a great idea, personally.
Sounds interesting. Let's see the CD-ROM in action. Come on then. You may be wondering where I am. Well, it is the Lighthouse, but I'm in the cinema. And why am I here? Well, next month it's the Deaf TV and Film Festival, and it's being held here. It's been organised by the Lighthouse, Wolverhampton University, the BDA and Channel 4. I'm going to talk now to Michael Quinlan. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Lara. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Michael. You're organising things at the BDA, and I see. Now, there are lots of these festivals for hearing people, and now there's one for us. But what makes it so different?
Well, it's different because, as you know, there's the Film and Television Festival in Edinburgh every year. Now, lots of hearing people attend to share their work and their ideas. There's a wealth of information there, and it works very successfully. Now, deaf people rarely get that sort of opportunity. That's why we're running this weekend. It's the third Deaf Film and Television Festival along these lines. Deaf people can come down, access information, share ideas, hopefully learn something and take it away with them. We need to see ideas turn into actions, and this can help that to develop.
So, what kind of things can people coming to the festival expect to see?
There's a whole host of things. There'll be workshops running on a variety of topics. People who've made videos will be entering them in a competition. Now, some of those were made last year, some this year, and some of them are still in production as we speak. But the most important thing is to focus on people who are amateurs and give them an opportunity. That's what it's all about. Helping transfer people's ideas to video or film. We're really focusing on ideas, new ideas. Now, shooting and lighting is part of that too, but it's really about ideas that no one's seen before. We hope that people will go away having learned that they really can do these things.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Don't forget, the festival runs from the 16th to the 18th of October over the weekend. If you do decide to come along, you'll have the chance to take a look at some amateur productions. Here's an example of one film which comes from South Africa. All of the actors and actresses are deaf, as is the director. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it all starts when a little boy's game goes wrong.
I'm the best.
They called her to get out of the way. It was no use. She was deaf. Ow!
Great film. Remember when our chef Jackie was here and we asked her if she'd be coming back? She said yes. But when? Well, now. Let's say hi. Ah, there you are. How are you?
Fine.
Great. Last time you were here, you made a vegetarian sausage salad, which was gorgeous. Unfortunately, the crew scoffed a lot, didn't you guys? Naughty. Anyway, what are you cooking today?
Just wait for the surprise. Today I'm making wild mushroom omelette with orange and yellow peppers. It's really easy to make, just like any other sort of omelette, and it's perfect for those unexpected guests who just drop in for lunch. The omelette I'm making is for 2 people. First, you need to chop the onion and the peppers. Peppers and onions are frying, and now I need to chop the mushrooms. These are different. The reason they're different is that these are wild and they have a myriad of flavours, just delicious. I'm using sherry. You don't have to use this. You could use wine, not red though. I'm using this one because it has a really rich flavour. Now I'm going to add the mustard, 1 dessert spoon heaped. This gives a richer taste. Smells great. Carry on until it becomes creamy. Everything tastes better with garlic. Smells beautiful. Bet you wish you were here. Now for the omelette, and I'm using 6 eggs and this. It's called creme fraiche, and I'm using it because it tastes a bit different from normal cream and it adds a slight sourness. If you use normal cream, you'll notice something missing, and this is it. I'm also using coriander because it goes so well with eggs. You can't get away with rosemary, but there are other herbs you could try. This is about half a tub. Now add a pinch of salt. And my favourite, the coriander. Lovely. When it starts to bubble up, it's ready to go in. Now under the grill for browning and to help it rise. Here we are, and it's gorgeous. Okay, Lara, here it is.
It looks like an omelette.
It is, but it's my special omelette with wild mushrooms and orange and yellow peppers. Try it before the cameraman does.
It tastes quite different from an omelette. Yeah, it's great.
That's a relief. I'll be back again soon with another treat.
Well, that was all about the NHS celebrating its 50th anniversary over the summer, but I don't remember seeing any deaf people giving their views. We thought that was wrong. So, what has the NHS been doing for deaf people over the last 50 years? I went back in history to find out. 100 years ago, healthcare was pretty appalling. If you were ill, you could go to a doctor for help, but only if you were wealthy enough to pay for your treatment. If you were poor, that wasn't an option. And if you were deaf, it was even worse, because doctors didn't know how to deal with you, so they just didn't. In 1948, the NHS was founded. Its purpose was to ensure that whether rich or poor, we all had access to doctors and hospitals. And attitudes to deaf people very slowly began to improve. Around the same time that the NHS came into being, a film was made showing young children having their hearing tested. The following film was made to raise awareness, and the children being tested could have been deaf or hearing. The point was that deaf children and hearing children clearly had the same level of intelligence.
These children are deaf, and it's a great handicap to them. First of all, they have to be taught how to speak. In the ordinary way, a child learns to speak by hearing the words grown-ups say and then repeating the sound. Deaf children cannot do this. They are not less intelligent than other children, but because of the difficulty of teaching them, they go more slowly and have fallen behind.
I'm in South London. This building used to be a church. It's now the home of a charity called Sign, which helps people with mental health problems. We're going to talk to a lady who went into hospital for a knee operation. When she came out of surgery, she had actually undergone a different operation. She insists that she was not informed about the procedure, although the doctors claim that she was. So it seems that the problems deaf people have traditionally had with healthcare are still very much with us.
They were talking among themselves. They weren't listening to me. For about half an hour, I was just ignored while they talked to each other. They just left, shut the door. It was just so rude. I was really upset. I was in tears. I don't know why the doctor was like that. Maybe he had his own family problems or something like that. I don't know.
I'm now going to talk to the project manager, whose name is Lloyd Witt. Hello, Lloyd. Nice to meet you. Is this an isolated case, or are these things commonplace?
Unfortunately, it happens quite a lot. Part of the reason that is because people in the front line of the NHS service use ignorance and attitude towards a deaf person. For example, if a hearing person had gone in for the same operation, she would have had clarified her questions and concerns, whereas when this particular patient went in, she was ignored, wasn't given the right response, left upset, wasn't sure why, And when I phoned a couple of days later, I got a response. I was a hearing person over the telephone. This deaf person sat there with a member of staff. The doctors and the nurses ignored her.
But are things going to get any better? There have been some improvements, but an NHS report published 2 years ago admits that few health professionals know any sign language, nor anything much about deaf culture at all, which makes it very difficult for them to accurately diagnose a deaf person's illness. The report recommends the education of social workers, doctors and mental health professionals in sign language, deaf culture and deaf awareness. Well, it's about time the NHS itself recognised that there are problems. But is anything really going to happen? Well, we wanted to ask the government what it was doing to make it easier for deaf people to access NHS services. We asked the Department of Health press office 15 times over 2 months for an interview with a government minister. Eventually, we thought we had an interview with Paul Boateng, who's the health minister, but when we turned up for the interview, he refused. So we followed him into a conference he was attending with the Health Secretary, Frank Dobson, and tried to ask him some questions anyway.
Mr. Boateng, would you say that the NHS has let deaf people down over the last 50 years? Deaf people have had a second-class service from the NHS. We have been waiting 8 weeks for an interview with you. Is there any reason why we can't ask you that question, Mr. Boateng?
As you can see, they walked off, and Mr. Boateng refused to answer our questions. After that, the Department of Health's press office faxed us a statement, which read, "Over the last 50 years, the NHS has done a great deal for deaf people, but mistakes have been made. A new video is soon to be distributed to NHS staff, telling them about deaf people's experiences of using the NHS." I wonder how much longer as deaf people we will have to wait for a fair service. Thank you. If you have any ideas for an item in the programme, then it's really easy to get in touch and let us know. We'll give you our address at the end of the programme, and don't forget you can call us on a video phone. If you don't know where to find one, there are actually quite a few around, like at all the RNID offices. More details about that on our website, or you can call the RNID direct. Now, over to the newsroom for the news review.
Hello again. The Labour Party has been holding its annual conference in Blackpool against the backdrop of concern over the direction of the economy and the election of several left-wing critics of the government to the National Executive Committee, the party's ruling body. In a tough speech to the conference, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Gordon Brown, confirmed the government's determination to keep a tight hold on public spending and bank interest rates. The Chancellor said that only by creating long-term economic stability could Britain break out of the destructive cycle of boom and recession. Trade union leaders were unhappy with the speech and called for immediate pay rises for public sector workers such as nurses and midwives. They described the massive gap between the pay rises awarded to some bosses and the rest of the workforce as disgraceful, claiming it encouraged confrontation. The row was fueled by the announcement of a series of job losses in both manufacturing and electronics. On Tuesday, an electronics firm in Scotland announced 1,000 job losses, blaming falling exports on the strong pound and economic turmoil in Southeast Asia and Japan.
that from this government there will be no U-turns, no left turns, no right turns, no return to Tory boom and bust.
Not jam yesterday, not jam tomorrow, a third way, a bit of jam today.
Yes, we are New Labour, and we are proud of it. But don't give me this nonsense that we're simply a more moderate or competent Tory government. What Tory government would ever have put £800 million into our poorest estates in order to give them a future of hope?
In his keynote speech to the conference, the Prime Minister Tony Blair highlighted the government's achievements in the health service, education and the environment. He also acknowledged the concerns of delegates and unions about the economy and other areas of policy, but said that change and improvements never come without struggle. In his speech, the Prime Minister promised a new Get Tough strategy for dealing with minor crime, and announced an extra £400 million for specialist health education and environmental projects. Helmut Kohl, Germany's Chancellor, the equivalent of Britain's Prime Minister, has conceded defeat in the country's general election, bringing an end to 16 years in power for the conservative Christian Democratic Party. The Social Democratic Party, a left-wing party led by Gerhard Schroeder, emerged as the largest party in the new parliament. But to secure a working majority will need to work alongside a junior coalition partner. Negotiations are going on between Schroeder and the environmentalist Green Party, who won almost 7% of the vote. Thrashing out a deal could take days or even weeks. Mr. Schroeder has said that the three key principles for the Social Democrats in the negotiations with the Green Party would be economic stability, internal security, and continuity in foreign policy. But there are great differences between the two parties. The Greens say that they will insist on an end to nuclear power and the introduction of environmentally friendly taxes. The Greens would also expect to control the Environment Ministry. And there is speculation that the Green Party leader, Joschka Fischer, wants the post of Foreign Minister. While Germany's European allies have congratulated Mr. Schroeder on his election victory, they will be watching to see whether the new government will continue to play a leading role in the European Union, or whether priorities will shift to tackling Germany's internal problems. Unemployment is currently at record levels, some 4 million Germans are without work, and much remains to be done to further the economic integration of the former communist state of East Germany. Meanwhile, Mr. Kohl, the grand old man of German politics, has announced that he is to step down as leader of the defeated Christian Democrats. Although many political commentators see the election result as giving power to a new generation of younger politicians, Mr. Schroeder is 54 and has been a Member of Parliament for nearly 20 years. President Clinton has declared parts of the southern United States disaster areas after they were hit by Hurricane George. Winds gusting to around 170 miles per hour raged across Mississippi after the hurricane blew in from the sea. The storm brought 24 inches of rain to the coastal area, and an estimated 1.5 million people were advised to abandon their homes in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. More than 100,000 homes along the coast were left without electricity on Monday, as thousands of people fled the area or sought refuge in shelters. Several low-lying delta towns near to New Orleans have been flooded. The worst devastation created by Hurricane George occurred earlier in the week in the Dominican Republic, where more than 200 people were killed and at least 700 are missing. The government estimates that 90% of the country's crops were damaged, including valuable tobacco and sugarcane. The Dominican Parliament has demanded an investigation into the National Emergency Commission, which is meant to prepare for such disasters, but many MPs have accused it of being badly organised and slow to take action. In the United States, the government's decision to declare those parts of the country affected by the storm as disaster areas means that funding from central government will be made available for low-cost loans and help with clearing up the devastation. The two British aid workers, Camilla Carr and John James, who were held hostage in Chechnya for nearly 15 months, have spoken of the treatment they received at the hands of their captors. Camilla Carr told the Mail on Sunday newspaper that she was repeatedly raped by a masked guard, while John James was chained to a radiator in a nearby room. Ms. Carr said that the sexual assaults went on for several months, until she managed to befriend the rapist and he apologized to her. John James was threatened with having his fingers cut off and being thrown into a cage with poisonous spiders. On arrival back in the UK, the couple told waiting news journalists that they had forgiven their captors. Researchers from Cambridge University say they have found a mothering gene in mice. They mutated the gene in a colony of mice and found that when the gene was defective, mothers did not look after their young properly. They would not feed or clean them and were slow to retrieve them if they wandered away from the nest. Scientists believe there's a similar gene in humans, and the researchers say if it's defective, it might explain why some mothers fail to bond with their babies. Sheffield Wednesday's Italian striker, Paolo Di Canio, faces a long ban from the game after he pushed referee Paul Alcock to the ground during the team's match with Arsenal on Saturday. Sports Minister Tony Banks has urged the Football Association to set an example and chuck the book at Di Canio for his totally unacceptable behaviour. While Di Canio accepted that the referee had been right to send him off, he still tried to excuse his behaviour by claiming that he is being victimised for being a foreigner. The Princess Royal has been visiting 4 countries in Africa. During her 8-day trip, the Princess visited Tanzania, Kenya, Mauritius and Uganda. to support and publicise the work of the many charitable organisations working to improve medical, social and economic conditions for the people of the region. In Uganda, the Princess opened a British-built AIDS clinic, the first specialist centre for the disease in Africa. She was invited to do so after the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, who had been scheduled to open it herself. Uganda is one of the African countries worst hit by the AIDS epidemic. Some 500,000 have died, and another 2 million, or 1 in 6 of the population, are infected. During her visit to Uganda, the Princess Royal visited a support group where mothers infected with the AIDS virus are helped to make memory books to help their children after their death. Well, that's all the news for this week. Now, back to the Lighthouse.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this week. Next week sees the start of the second series of The Vibe. We've been looking behind the scenes. Here's a quick clip. Oi, you behave yourself. I'll be back next week. Bye.